Okay, should be good, should be live, should be set. Welcome back. I am back after this past week. I took off due to holiday, kind of had a different schedule. I was a little bit busy. So I necessarily didn't worry about making content for the channel. I didn't really worry about making content for anything else. I was just doing some IRL stuff, trying to catch up overall. But we're back at it. We're going to cover what happened this past weekend, or I guess Friday on, and cover a couple other topics that had happened over the past week, from fighters, rumors, fight talk, matchups coming up, shit talk. Oh, actually, 2 weekends ago, there was the Figgy and Peter Yan UFC Fight Night, so we'll talk about that as well. But to start off with, I'm gonna go ahead and just give off a little list of what we'll probably cover today, and then just go from there. The first thing that we're gonna cover is the PFL is gonna get a new superstar, or has a new superstar in Dakota Ditcheva. She is a strawweight or a flyweight. I can't remember exactly. Damn. How do I not remember? I want to make sure I remember this. How do I not know? It's got to be strawweight, right? Because people were saying Valentina. It's got to be 125 or flyweight. Damn. I always get those mixed up. Flyweight, strawweight is 115. So 125. Okay, I always get those mixed up for some reason. Mainly, I think ONE FC kind of fucked me up when I was doing some research on that, and ever since then, the flyweight, strawweights, those always kind of throw it off for me. I don't know why. But first off, the PFL has a superstar in Dakota Ditcheva in the strawweight. I almost did it again. The strawweight division. I need to make sure 125 strawweight division. Get that ingrained in my fucking brain. I don't know why that's the case. Anyways, then we're going to go over the one. Why am I talking about one? Goodness. Then we'll talk about UFC 310 this week with Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Garry in the co-main event of Alex Pantoja versus Kai Asakura, which, to be honest with you, the 310 card is very, very good, very sleepy. It's stacked between early prelims, and the main card. There are some really, really good fights on there. I don't think a lot of people are talking about, to be honest with you. And then, was Dana White right? Is the PFL Tour experiment just a complete fail? Are the UFC about to luck into a bunch of really, really good talent out of nowhere? And they didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to buy out a company. They didn't have to take on or absorb any sort of contract. This is going to be, I hate to say it, because in a good and a bad way, it's good because the UFC is going to get a lot of really good talent, and we could get a lot of crazy good fights coming up in the next couple of years, depending on what happened and these different contracts that might get cut or released or won out, or we'll talk about that later. But was Dana White right? The whole experiment over there in PFL and Bellator has been a complete shit show, and we'll detail that later in the show as well. Hamzat Chimaev, should he get a title shot over Sean Strickland for DDP? That's what Robert Whitaker thinks. We'll talk about that because I got some opinions, to be honest with you, and I want to lay out this landscape at 185 that a lot of people might be missing in reality. Ilya Taporia, was he right about Conor McGregor? You know, if you didn't hear about his comments, we'll talk about those later as well. Francis Ngannou calling out John Jones. And then Cyril Gane in his comments when he faced John Jones. They're very interesting. I don't know how I understand how you say that, and the moment is too big. But man, I wouldn't admit that. I don't know if I'd admit that on camera. I'd admit that to myself, maybe, to grow and get past, but I don't know if that's a soundbite like Sam Darnold, I'm seeing ghosts. Do you think that's a soundbite you want? Even you can be honest with yourself. You don't got to be honest with everyone in the fucking world like that, in my opinion. We'll talk about that later. And then Jan Blachowicz, he's talking about a fight coming up. He tweeted out fight soon and some fist emojis. So we'll talk about the landscape at 205. Maybe he's the next contender because Magomed Ankalaev is playing around. And is Ali is his manager? I think he is. I could be wrong. Ali Abdelaziz, the house manager. The house meaning for the UFC. I don't know why or how fighters actually sign with this dude. He might have connections and know people, but that could also be a red flag with knowing too many people and being too lenient to the company side versus clients in most cases. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth as well with Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill, all that stuff going on at X. What's going on, Jamal? Are you like, I'm not saying CTE. I'm not saying that. That's some pretty crazy allegations to start saying, to be real with you, like, especially in that case. But you did lose. Like, no one forgot it. People online make you remember that for sure with all the photos, memes, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but like in all reality, you lost. Just move on. Like, you're making a headline for yourself bigger than it possibly should be in this moment. We'll detail that later, but Alex was saying he should go face Yuri for a rematch to then get another opportunity at the belt. That'll be interesting because 205, since Alex has cleared it out, has been, and I guess maybe since John Jones left, it's been so up and down. So we'll talk about that at the end. And the last thing, of course, John Jones, is he going to actually vacate the belt before he retires? We'll talk about that. Actually, not the last thing with that. My Patriots, my Celtics, we lost. I'll take it. Is what it is. That'll be at the end because I want to get through this MMA stuff. Let's start it off back at the top with, does the PFL have a new superstar? Or actually, well, maybe new superstar. Yeah, that's a good way to start it because Kayla Harrison was a superstar at the time. But in Dakota Ditcheva, can she be a real contender if she went to the UFC? I personally think that. I'm not saying that she's going to go beat a Valentina Shevchenko. I'm not, because I love a Valentina Shevchenko. I would just love to see the matchup, because if she just did what she did to Talia Santos, and Valentina went to a decision with her, I want to see that matchup. She's undefeated. She just won the championship for the PFL. Wasn't she in their Challenger series before all of that? I've seen this girl her last 3 fights before this, and I've literally for the last, I know I haven't been on the train early on, but at least the last year and a half, for sure, she's very talented. She's very talented, and I would be very interested to hear or to actually see if she would ever go and compete in the UFC, depending on how the PFL treats her down the line here. But the PFL seem to treat their fighters very well on the PFL side. There's been a lot of shit going on the Bellator side, which we'll get to shortly. That in its own right is a huge blunder. Where's that on here? Damn, I don't have that on here. Interesting. I have it on my other paper. Anyways, the PFL and Dakota Ditcheva, she's an attractive woman. And I know that the UFC or maybe not UFC, let me backtrack that. The MMA community, especially in the males, it's fucking weird. Okay. If you're on X, you're on Twitter, you see all these dudes. They're showing their face, but most of them are reposting these females and ass shots of them doing grappling or weighing in or their feet. and they have these obsessions of like, oh, she's the. I always see it's between Alexa Grasso, Mackenzie Dern, there's a couple of other ones. I don't know. The girl that twerks after she wins. Like, there's a couple of, like, I don't really know because I don't really give a fuck about it. Like, it's not what I do. But at the end of the day, that is a marketing aspect. That's just reality. You know, guys are not going to, they're tuning in. They want to see an attractive female do X, Y, Z. I'm not saying I'm a part of that group, but there is a demographic out there, obviously, because that's just fucking life. You know, let's not ignore reality. So with that being said, she's a good looking female. She's not completely unattractive. She's young. She's undefeated. She has everything that the PFL or any brand would love. Okay? She could be a fucking mass marketing like asset for that brand. But they're not gonna capitalize. They're not gonna capitalize at all. The PFL is going to fail flat on its face when it comes to marketing Dakota Ditcheva to be the next superstar in women's MMA. Okay. Personally, that's how I see it. They've never really been able to market much. I mean, Kayla Harrison had her run, but the superstar that they have, they even have a superstar in Paul Hughes that the the Bellator side of it, they're going to flop right on their face. And they don't even know what's about to come. Because apparently, I don't think a lot of fighters know, or a lot of people know, that there have been reports that the Bellator side of it's probably going to close down after an event or after like their next 3 events. Okay. And that's very much alarming because they wanted to try to have the 2 brands coexist. And that tells me that they're not going to have another Bellator versus PFL. And that's also another alarming thing because when they marketed this, they said, oh, we're going to try to run it for a couple of years. Well, was Dana White right? I don't know. PFLator, as he likes to say. That's a good question. And to be honest with you, looking at things now, it looks like he was spot fucking on. Right on the head. Boom. He got it right. And to be real with you, he's in the business, so of course, he's got the experience. He saw what was coming. But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like they even know what they're doing. Because Don Davis himself has come out and said he doesn't even watch fights. He's literally never watched, well, not never, but he doesn't even watch fights. He said it himself. He doesn't even watch his own brand, the PFL. When asked what's his favorite fight, he couldn't even name them. You couldn't even come up with something like on the fly. Bro, you're the CEO, whatever brand he is, or job title he is for the PFL, and you couldn't even just come up with some fight off the top of your fucking head? I don't know. That just seems like a complete blunder over there. And they're not necessarily taking the Bellator side serious because you're having fighters come out like Patchy Mix, I think Patricio Pitbull. There's been a ton of different fighters on the Bellator roster that have been very upset with the fact that they haven't really been getting many fights. And if you're not on the Bellator, or if you're not on the PFL roster, it seems, on their side of it, then you're not necessarily taken care of like you should be. Because they don't even have a 135 division, bantamweight. They don't have a 185 division, middleweight. These are 2 of the most stacked divisions in the whole sport. And you're telling me that you don't even have them? You have fighters that you just accepted from a whole nother organization and a whole nother brand. And they're some of the best fighters in the whole world. I'm saying some of the best talent on the whole roster that you just acquired. And you have still almost the whole calendar year since you've acquired them. Okay? Because we're coming up on it. You have still yet to figure out how to either incorporate them in the PFL or make them have consistency on the brand of Bellator that you decided to keep because of international notoriety. That's just very much a blunder. And many fighters, I think what Patchy Mix had claimed that he was promised the fight and it got canceled, promised another fight, got canceled. He found out online. Something along these lines. He came out with a whole tweet, like a whole thread of tweets. And to be honest, it's very sad because I really wanted the PFL and the Bellator thing to kind of work out, whether they absorbed it, which they just should have absorbed it into the PFL brand and kept it one. Because even if you go on their website, legitimately, you go on the Bellator's website, or if you go on PFL's website, they have each other's content and they have each other's logo. So how are you even supposed to understand the difference? How are you supposed to understand the difference between PFL or Bellator or their Challenger Series or their PFL Europe or their PFL Africa or their XYZ? They can't even market correctly in the USA for some reason in those with those other brands. I really don't understand it at the end of the day. If you're going to try to actually be the number 2 or the co-leader in MMA, Don Davis, you should actually maybe watch the sport or maybe hire someone that does. At the end of the day, Dana White teamed up with the Fertitta brothers, right? The Fertitta brothers handled the money. They were fans, but they didn't handle the day-to-day like a Dana White. You seem to be in the Fertitta brothers role trying to play Dana White. That is honest opinion from a fan who watches your product, Bellator's product, UFC's product, and one championship's product. Okay? Now, I would love to watch the KSWs, the Cage Warriors, the LFAs, the Riot, every single thing I can, and I try to catch whatever I can, but real life and whatever, right? At the end of the day, you are running a fucking brand that's supposed to be the co-leader, and you are playing Dana White as the Fertitta brothers. Like, honestly, it doesn't make any sense to me. So, I think ultimately the PFL, even with fighters that they have, right, they do have some really good talent over there. The Bellator brand, the fighters that they've signed, the fighters that they have, Dakota Ditcheva, Paul Hughes, all the fighters that they have over in Bellator, like Sergio Pettis, Patchy Mix, Johnny Eblin. These are just some of the Vadim Nemkov who's fighting soon. These are some of the talent. This is some of the roster. And most of them are just going to be released or have, actually, I'll come here. I have a list of fighters who have been released. We'll talk about this now. I have a list of fighters who've been released or who have asked for their release and have maybe possibilities of going to the UFC, or I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe they could. Let me just, for instance, his contract expired. He's 31 years old. He was 8-1 in Bellator, and he was 27-1 overall record. My voice cracked there. 27-1 overall record. Yaroslav Almasov. Yeah, I think I pronounced that correctly. He was the champ at 170, and he lost the Jason Jackson. He was KO'd, but his contract expired, and hopefully he can go over to the UFC and have a couple of fights over there. It'd be interesting to see how he does being 7-1, being a champ, being 27-1, being 31 in his prime. So I think that's a good transitional period for him to go over to the UFC now that his contract has expired. Hopefully they've been in the talks with Hunter Campbell. Then I know he was in the UFC prior, but Lorenz Larkin was in the UFC before. He was in Bellator. I think he was he's 9-3-1 in Bellator, and he's 27-8-2 overall. Now he is 38, and I don't know whether he's going to be fighting at 170, 185, whatever the case is. He's kind of been all over in his career, but we don't even know if that's a possibility for him with the UFC and how often they're just sticking to younger talent. So him being 38, whether he's going to retire or he's going to actually be able to sign somewhere else, we'll see. I mean, he did get released here, or I'm sorry, it did get expired. So he does have an opportunity to go wherever the hell he wants. Now, Anatoly Tokov was released. He was a 185er. He's 34 years of age, 7-1 in Bellator, and 32-3 overall. So we'll see if he is going to be able to make a jump over to the UFC, being at 34 years of age. You are just there at the cusp, at the end of your career. Not saying you cannot win, because over 170 weight classes, the older opponents do have more of an opportunity based on statistics. I know, people and fighters are all their individuals, and statistics do not matter for the person. But overall, I would say that would be a good opportunity. Him at 34 years of age, Anatoly Tokov, to go into the middleweight division. We'll see. We do need a shakeup. I mean, shit. At the end of the day, he did get released. We'll see if he can get a new home. And then Gegard Mousasi at 39. He's a legend. He was in the UFC prior. He's going through a whole UFC law, or not UFC. He's going through a whole lawsuit with the PFL, apparently. He's going to be suing them. So we'll see how that goes. I do not see him getting another opportunity, but I figured why not put it in here. He did get released. I doubt he gets another opportunity, but that would be interesting to see him return to the UFC, because he does have a big name. And then Lucas Brennan, he's actually coming off a loss, and he's fighting at Fury FC 99. He was 9-1 in Bellator, and that was his overall record. So we'll see. He is 24, and he does fight at the 145 division. We'll see if that's even an opportunity for him after this Fury FC 99 fight here in December. I didn't write that down. I think it's December 14th or something like that. He did get knocked out and then released from the PFL 2 weeks later. So not necessarily fun, but those are some prospects that are possibilities to be joining the UFC. I know that there is a plethora of talent on the Bellator roster right now that are very unhappy and disgruntled. I mean, short list here: Patchy Mix, Patricio Pitbull, Johnny Eblin, Sergio Pettis, Magomed Magomedov, Rafael Stotts, Leon Edwards' brother, Fabian Edwards. I think Danny Sabatello, Jason Jackson. I don't know if Danny Sabatello retired, though. I think he might have retired. But Jason Jackson is a good candidate to be going over to the UFC. Now, I'm not saying that any of these guys have come out and said, oh, I want to get released. I want out of my contract with Bellator or the PFL, and I want to go to the UFC. But at the end of the day, if Bellator and PFL do not figure it out, a lot of these fighters are going to want out, and they're going to want to go and venture to see what the UFC has to offer them and check their free agency market. Because at the end of the day, these guys fight for money. I mean, how many of them have a career outside? Some of them do, but some of them use this as a huge opportunity to get the most out of their career, and they don't want to be just sitting on the shelf. So if you're in Bellator right now, or if you're in PFL, why do you want to just be sitting on the shelf? waiting out your career, waiting out a contract and not getting any fights. They're going to want out eventually. And I did hear this. Ian Garry will win. What's up, comic? How are you? I think that's going to be a great fight. I haven't talked about that yet. I'm just finishing up my notes on Bellator and PFL. But that's going to be a great one. How you doing, Cosmic? I think that'll be a great test for either fighter. Ultimately, if this goes south, or the comment that I heard though was the holidays are here. A lot of fighters, if they're seen on TV, they're quote unquote famous, but the paycheck doesn't actually correlate. They're going to be more pissed off that they're not even able to purchase gifts for their family or do XYZ over the holidays and go see family or whatever because they're not fighting. They're not getting paid. The money's not coming in. It's not something that is sustainable for them. So they're not going to be happy with the organization. And that really does reign true though, because if you're not able to provide doing what you love the way that they're trying to in their prime, you're going to want out. You're going to be disgruntled. Shavkat's a beast too. Might feel Ian might get a lucky KO. People forget he won over MVP. That was a close one though. That was a close one. I think it could be very interesting. Shavkat's going to probably try to get in close. I know he was injured in one of his past fights and just basically manhandled. What was it? Lupe? No. Vicente Luque? I think, and he just grappled and manhandled him and just rear naked choke. I mean, we'll see. Who am I going for? I'm not going for anyone specific. They're both undefeated. It's going to be a really good bout. I think Shavkat's game plan is to get in close, probably grapple and try to submit him. But Ian Garry's got to stay on range and he's got to try to knock him out. I don't think that he engaged with MVP on the feet enough to really show that he wants to do that. I know the fact someone losing their undefeated streak is crazy. Shoot, Shavkat Rakhmonov told Henry Hoof that he thinks Ian Garry is going to be a future champ just after him. That's what Ian Garry said. We'll see how true that statement is, or if Ian Garry can stop that, I guess, timeline, right? And figure it out. I don't know how he beats him, because it's not going to be by grappling. He has to knock him out or just get to a decision. But I don't know. What else? Hold on. Where's that fight I have in my notes here? All right, so I'm sad Bilal pulled out. I really wanted to see that fight. At the end of the day, we're going to get whoever wins this is going to be facing Bilal, right? And Bilal's foot or whatever it was his toe got infected. That shit ballooned up. That was disgusting. I'm very happy that he did not try to compete after that, man. Go take your time. If you've heard him talk about the injuries that he's gone through, he had multiple eye surgeries and had to lay and sleep on like a not a yoga mat, but like one of those massage tables, and he had to sleep facing down with his face down into the holder or whatever it is, just for it to recover. Like, the dude's gone through a lot of shit. He's also not, even though, look, don't get me wrong, I'm not a huge Bilal fan. I'm really not. He's not the most exciting fighter, but I will give him this. He doesn't have a crazy background, and he kind of came into the sport late, and now he's a champion. You got to give him that. You got to at least respect that. But winner of this is going to be facing Bilal. I don't think that he gets through Shavkat personally, but he could get through Ian Garry, depending on what we see, or Ian Garry gets his moment and he knocks out both of these dudes and he becomes a superstar. That's what we love of the sport, personally. Damn, he lost 300 that night, dude. I think it was, personally, I think it's the way that Leon handled the night. Like, personally, the way he was talking with his, in the embedded or in interviews prior, he wasn't taking it serious, the time change. And I think it really fucked him up. I think it really fucked him up. And someone, I think it was Ariel or someone else, made a good point that being in America, I don't even have to transition my time at all. I can literally fight right here on my time, normal, be on my normal day to day, go over there, and that's the time zone. Like that, it would have matched up perfectly for that late in the night over there. Over in what, England, Europe, whatever, Manchester. I don't really know. I'm not going to act like I know about that shit, but I think that was a bit of an advantage for some people that they didn't even realize that Americans had, personally. Now for 310, I think that the card is pretty sleepy good. All right. We got Chris Weidman, Eric Anders got flexed into the early prelims. Personally, pretty solid on the early prelims. I'm not a crazy Weidman fan, but it could have been a worse option on the early prelims. And then on the prelims, we get Randy Brown. Yeah, we get Brian Battle. I was going to say he's going to be against Randy Brown here on the early or on the normal prelims. But that'll be really good. I'm surprised the Butcher is going to be coming off it after 2 months. He just knocked out the dude over in France or whatever the case is. Wait, he didn't knock him out, did he? I can't recall whether he went to a decision or not, but I just remember the promo after. Either way, that's going to be good. He did talk a good amount of shit about Randy Brown in his interview with Ariel Helwani, to be honest with you. He did mention how Randy Brown is good, but he's kind of just there and he's looking to kind of go past them. I don't like that talk because you're kind of giving your opponent a little more fuel. I think Randy Brown, he's not wrong. He's not necessarily wrong in his comments, but you don't need to give someone like that more fuel who has the ability to do that. Nah, he KO'd him. I know y'all didn't think I was going to lose to a Frenchman. I love that. I love that promo. And what's even funnier is I watched his Ultimate Fighter series with my girlfriend. My girlfriend didn't even know. She didn't even recognize him from the series with his long ass hair and his interview with Ariel where he, obviously he doesn't have that long ass hair anymore. But he's definitely changed his image, the way people and fans view him, I would say. And people want to tune in. I think that's going to be a sleeper fight to start the prelims. Randy Brown, Brian Battle, pretty solid. Then Movsar and Aljamain Sterling. We finally get that. After what? Aljamain said he didn't want to come back too quick because last time he returned too quick and he didn't listen to his body was when he lost to Sugar Sean O'Malley. And I do understand being rushed by the establishment to kind of come back for that. Who you got? Asakura or Pantoja? I've been watching some of the fights that the ESPN have released on their YouTube page. The last 3. I think Asakura's knees are sneaky good. I don't think a lot of people realize. He has dropped a lot of people with those knees up the middle. Alex Pantoja could be next. I don't think that they would just be giving anyone a title shot right off the bat in the same breath. They do not respect the 125 belt at all. They don't respect it. If you're Demetrius Johnson and you didn't get respect, and he mentioned fighting for 14-14 against Dominic Cruz, then I just don't see Alex Pantoja getting as much respect by the brass. Just kind of is what it is. I love Demetrius Johnson, but there's a reason they're allowing this to happen. I don't think if this was, unless maybe like a crazy heavyweight like Francis Ngannou came back, whatever I know that's out of the realm. I'm just throwing someone out there. But I don't think someone right off the bat from another organization would be facing or fighting for the belt like Kaya Sakura if it wasn't the 125 championship. Because even though Alex Pantoja has been dominant, they don't really give a fuck about the little guys. Like, and what's crazy is they're the most technical, they're the most fun to watch because they're the most talented. Like, being a smaller fighter, you have to be technical, you have to be tight in your fundamentals. Being a bigger guy, you see that being less and less seen, because how many people were impressed that John Jones did a taekwondo kick for a win? You know what I mean? It's your least favorite weight class to watch. See, that's also another point. Now, personally, I love it. I love watching them, but it's not exciting to a lot of people. A lot of fans don't really care. Now, when you get that and you mix it with smaller dudes, and then the brass doesn't care, of course they're going to give Kaya Sakura this championship. Now, he does deserve it. He's very, very talented. Had a pretty, he won the title over in Ryzen a couple of times. There's a reason he's leaving as the champ. And they're giving him this title shot. He is exciting. I think it's going to be a very exciting fight. I just don't think that if this was for the 135 or 145, 155, it would be right out the gate for a championship. Now, if Kayla Harrison came from the seasonal and had beaten Larissa Pacheco, I think she would have gotten a title shot right out the gate against Amanda Nunes, but she wasn't the champion that season. So I think that's probably why she had to build herself up and get known over there with a couple of fights before she now is fighting for a championship against who just beat Pennington? Who the fuck beat her? Either way, I'm not personally, I'm not crazy big fan of women's MMA, but I think that's why the PFL having a Dakota Ditcheva and fumbling the bag on marketing her is a problem. Yeah, man, Bryce Mitchell against Kron Gracie. I don't even know how that's going to go. People are saying that he's the parlay killer, Excuse me, sorry. Muted the mic so no one heard me burp. Anyways, but Bryce Mitchell, after what Josh Emmett basically fucking sent him to another planet, hasn't been back since. Hopefully things can be settled for him. I know on the main card, him against Kron Gracie, I personally think that could have been flexed out for a prelim fight because, bro, Movsar versus Aljamain Sterling. How is this not on the main card? Personally, and how is this not talked about? That was the worst KO I've ever seen. Bro was seizing up. Yeah, like it is fucking disgusting. I'm surprised that was not the first KO in the octagon or death in the octagon that we've seen, even though RIP, I don't know who or what his name is, but we had someone in Canada just pass away after a fight, right? He got like carried out and like died the next day or something like that. So that's terrible too. That just happened recently in the last like week or two, something like that. But I thought this was a little funny, to be honest with you, that Dominic Reyes and Anthony Smith were canceled to fight on the MSG card that John Jones was headlining and they were going to be on the prelims, but it got canceled and sent to this card on the prelims. I just find that a little funny because two guys, like irony funny, not really funny. Like I'm making fun of their career because that's live, that's their life. They have children, the family, whatever. I'm not shitting on that. But the irony of them challenging John for the belt, both losing, I guess losing to some people. And then being on the prelims of his main event, it just feels a little irony. It seems a little funny to me. But now they're on the prelims. Any of these could have been flexed out for a couple of these fights here. Now, me personally, I love Nate. I love Nate the Train. I love him in the main card here. So I'm cool with it. I don't want to flex him out. But I think Bryce Mitchell probably could have been flexed out. I love that Cyril Gaines back against Alexander Volkov. And then I don't even want to go past this, but Nick Diaz pulled out again? Bro. And when there's videos of him lighting grass, like, no disrespect to the Diaz brothers. But I would appreciate if I was doing some shit like that, my own brother would maybe reach out, try to help me out. There's something going on for sure. Every single interview or someone in the scrap pack, their group, I don't want to missay that. But the Gilbert Melendez Jackson podcast, he was stating that even though they talk, they're not really like living close to each other. They're not training every day together. And he hopes he's doing well. But at the end of the day, if the public is making or getting videos of Nick Diaz shirtless, doing God knows what in the fucking public, it's not necessarily the best sign that he's doing all right and well. Hope all is well for you and your family, man. Sad to see that you pulled out. I was actually excited to see a fight. Just was questioning whether you were going to actually fight. But Vicente Luque versus Themba Gorimbo? I don't know, but The Rock gave him a house. Dude with like $7 in his bank account. The Rock was like, yeah, me too, and bought his ass a house. Look, The Rock, I've had $2 in my bank account before, dog. Where's my home? I'm just trolling you. Anyways, so the rest of the card, though, that we've talked about already, Alexander Pantoja, Akai Asakura, main event. Come on. That's a pretty good fucking main event. The co-main event, in its own right, I personally am happy they didn't make it an interim. I'm glad they didn't make it an interim. Dana White said the reason they didn't was because they knew when Bilal was going to return. No harm, no foul. I love to hear that. And at the end of the day, they didn't need to take away from the 125ers finally getting a spotlight. And how many people are going to actually tune in and buy it? Because Shavkat and Ian Garry are going to be on the co-main. So I just wish they gave Demetrius Johnson some opportunities like that, because it could have maybe boosted a couple of his pay-per-view sales. Even though now I think about it, he didn't even get pay-per-view points being a 125 champ, he said, until actually I think his whole career, unless it's like the last couple. So that's rough, man. Demetrius, love your career, dude. That's rough. All right. What else do I want to talk about? Here we go. All right. So the 135ers, the UFC's bantamweight division. How are we feeling about it? Right? Because ever since Figgy, Yan, Peter Yan gets a win over Figgy in the UFC's fight night, I'm not sure how the division is shaking out with Merab, Duck, and Umar, with Ali making threats and tweets online on Twitter, on X, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't know what's going on in the 135ers. Where's Sugar Sean O'Malley? Are we going to get Merab O'Malley too? I doubt it. Not pushing for it. Not saying that's what we need. Are we going to get Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen? Are we going to get a Sean O'Malley versus Umar? Are we going to get a Sean O'Malley versus who? What? Umar versus Peter? Sugar Sean versus Peter? What? Dominic Cruz versus who? I mean, there's a lot of people here. Henry Cejudo, Figgy, just coming off a loss. I mean, Corey Sandhagen. There's a lot of players and contenders at 135, to be honest with you. And I would love to see Corey Sandhagen versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. I would love to see Umar versus Merab. I would love to see Peter Yan versus somebody. I mean, shoot, maybe we do this. Maybe we do this. Let me think about this. Do we do Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan 2? Corey Sandhagen versus Figgy, even though Corey's kind of gone through everyone. Merab versus Umar. That feels like it might be the best for all of the contenders to kind of like see what's up, because a lot of them have fought, and I personally don't see why Umar should have to face anyone if he just beat a Corey Sandhagen, personally. And Corey Sandhagen should have been the number one contender before he even gave Umar an opportunity. So that's where I'm just like, now that he's lost, maybe he should face face Iggy or Figgy, sorry, Iggy. And then Peter versus Sugar, maybe. Even though, Peter's now been on a couple of wins here and he stopped Figgy, or a couple of wins. Is that his first win back? Let me see. Double check. No, yeah, he beat Song Yadong. That's what I thought. He had a couple of wins since he lost to Merab. That's what I thought. So if that's the case, we need to find out what's going on with those. I think Merab, Umar, Yan, Sugar, Corey, Figgy. That's what needs to happen personally. That's probably the direction to clear up the top at bantamweight. And that'll give us the best matchups, because the winner at the title is probably going to get Sugar and Peter. And then the loser of Sugar and Peter is going to get the winner of Figgy and Corey. Maybe. I don't know. That's a lot of math depending on who wins and how they win. That's important too. And the timelines on which the fighters fight and allow the other one, like say someone gets injured, say someone fights before someone else, and then the timeline's broken. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of got to wait to make sure that the time is right for both, depending on the wins and how they win. But I would assume that Peter Yan versus Sugar would get the number one contendership versus whoever wins with Merab and Umar. So I don't know. But I think personally, Merab is playing around a little bit. I don't know why you're going to try to go and fight Peter Yan when you have Umar. Umar just got through Corey. Corey, to me, is a bigger opponent or a bigger matchup than a Peter Yan was. So I don't care that Peter Yan got a couple of wins. He probably needs to go face Sugar. Corey, go face Figgy. Umar, go face Merab, please. I know he had a shoulder injury, so it kept him out of the fight with Song Yadong, but he needs to fight for the title. Even though I'm not trying to carry on the last name, but he beat Corey Sandhagen. Let's not even act like that's not a real win. That's a big win. And he did not have to give him that opportunity. So let's just be real. I think what else do I want to talk about? Whitaker. Whitaker said that Khamzat Chimaev deserves a title shot over Sean Strickland because sitting out should not be rewarded. Now, personally, Sean Strickland got a win in October. Or I'm sorry, not October, in August. And then Whitaker lost, or Khamzat got a win over Whitaker at the end of October. Now, personally, that's about a 2-month in between. And almost 4 months ago that Sean Strickland even got a win. And it's not even his fault that he's not even getting an opportunity at the championship right now. It's because DDP is the one holding it and dictating when and where they fight, including the brass. So when you get these narratives of, oh, he's sitting out, oh, he's this, he's the one, that's bullshit. Sean Strickland's already said they have it signed. They already have a fucking time. Like, they're already trying to figure out all of the logistics behind where they're trying to actually have it done. So the UFC has the next I believe half of next year already mapped out from what people have said in interviews, little, hints and tidbits or whatnot. So behind the scenes, they're not letting anyone know shit until it's time for you to know as a fan. Obviously, I'm not going to know. I'm a fan just like you, talking about what I'm hearing, trying to, build discourse or communication, community, whatever. My point being is they have plans behind the scenes that Robert Whittaker probably not even privy of. All right? I'm sorry about your teeth, dog, but you don't have to go push for Khamzat Chimaev to go get this next championship when he can just wait for the winner of DDP versus Sean Strickland. And personally, I think Sean Strickland beat DDP, my personal opinion. So I think he needs to get his get back. He got a win over Izzy. DDP I'm sorry. I almost said that. I almost said he don't got to win over Izzy. I'm wrong. Absolutely wrong. I almost blanked it out of my mind like I'm Jamal Hill. But my point is, he's now the champion. We have to finish up this like weird triangle MMA math. Because what if Sean Strickland gets a win? And then, do we get a trilogy? Do we get a DDP versus Sean Strickland 3 if Sean Strickland gets the belt back? Do we get an Izzy Sean Strickland 2? I don't even know, but I know that Khamzat Chimaev should not be skipping the line. My personal opinion, DDP beat Whittaker. Khamzat Chimaev beat Whittaker. Whittaker and Strickland have not fought. I understand. But if Sean Strickland has beaten Paulo Costa and he's kind of earned the title shot from Dana White's mouth, he said he's number one contender. He's next in line. He's even said that he didn't even think that he lost the DDP, which is why I want to see the rematch, because I don't think that he lost. You go back and you look at the striking, you go look at the stats, you go watch the whole fucking fight. I will stand on that hill. Sean Strickland did not lose to Dricus du Plessis in their first fight. I will die on that hill. And that's my personal opinion, which is why I'm pushing for this rematch. Because if he didn't even lose and he beat Paulo Costa, you deserve another fucking title shot, dude. You do. People didn't even think he was going to get through Paulo Costa. And then now because Khamzat Chimaev did what he did to Whittaker, he deserves a title shot over Strickland. You're going to get your chance, dude. But let's finish this up, all right? That's my personal opinion. That's how I feel about it. Like, it was the same with John Jones and Stipe. This should have been done a year ago. Let them finish it up. I know, a year ago kind of sucks. They should have fucking had it done, but we got it done. Now we get the real news. Is John going to vacate? He's even, actually, a great segue. John Jones has come out and said he might even vacate the heavyweight championship before he retires. Just depends on the meeting with the brass. And I think that that's the most interesting piece, because where does this go? Does that mean that if he just vacates the belt and stays on the roster that he's going to try to go face Pereira? Is he going to go and try to go back down to 205? Personally, I think the move for John Jones is probably vacate the heavyweight championship. Let Tom Aspinall gain the heavyweight championship, be the undisputed championship. And then he faces Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, Tom Aspinall, the winner of that gets John Bones Jones. And the reason I'm sticking to this narrative is because people in his camp, Gordon Ryan, have come out and said that this is exactly what he's trying to do. Or, I'm sorry, let me backtrack that a little bit. Not exactly what he's trying to do, but the best story for John. Let them battle it out. Let him come back, clean it up. What if Tom loses to Alex? What if Tom defends the champ? John also said, what if Tom goes on in the next couple of fights and loses? Then in 20 years, we'll never fucking remember Tom. That's kind of Not necessarily saying that that's the complete truth, because I know that Tom isn't just going to be a blip. You know, he's a great fighter. But at the end of the day, John's legacy kind of all the way up here. Tom is still budding. He's still growing. He's 31, 32. Like, and I know some people brought up the fact that John Jones and Daniel Cormier's age difference when they fought was bigger than John and Tom Aspinall now. I find that interesting as well. I personally think John Jones is going to fight him. At the end of the day, I think he's going to fight Tom Aspinall. Money talks, man. People want to be compensated for the work that they put in. John Jones has put in a lot of work. Does Tom Aspinall deserve to just walk in and capitalize on that? Because at the end of the day, if you just face John Jones, I'm not even saying this for fun. If you just face John Jones, you're kind of known for good in the community. What's up, Thomas? How are you? Just saying, that's the truth, though. Think about this. Dominic Reyes, he's the ESPN analysis now. Anthony Smith, Rashad Evans. I mean, a lot of them. A lot of the ex opponents are now just known for losing to John Jones, and that's good enough for some. I'm not saying Tom Aspinall would be that guy, but that's where John is coming from. I'm glad to hear you're doing well, though, man. But that's where I think he's coming from. Is that, do I want to give him this opportunity? Does the UFC have enough to show me that I should give this guy another opportunity to really? And what I think is funny is when John says gamble his opportunity or gamble his record, because it is a gamble whenever you go in there. That's how it is. You gamble whenever you go into the octagon. When you go into combat, you're gambling. You don't, man-to-man, hand-to-hand combat. Anything can happen. That's why we love the sport. That's why we love the sport, is the fact that Tom Aspinall can beat John Jones. So could have Stipe Miocic. So could have anyone before him. That's why we love it. Oh, my dog is freaking out from going to sleep. Hold on. Hello. Wake up. It's okay. That's why, I mean, personally, that's why I love the sport. Because it's exciting. I mean, when these two guys, when Stipe and John Jones went into the octagon, nobody knew that John Jones was going to end that fight the way he ended it, and was going to be as dominant as he was going in there at the end of it. The way he was able to just literally just step over Stipe and just boom and just ground and pound. Nasty work. I'm not saying he does that to Tom. I want to see it, though. I want to see the fight. That's fair. As a fan, though, I want to see Jones take on the best challengers. That version of Stipe was not nearly as tough of a challenge as Aspinall. I would agree, only because Tom Aspinall is going to be obviously 11 years or 10 years younger. But what is John's number one weakness? Speed. Tom is going to be way faster than Stipe. I mean, you go back to the Dominic Reyes fight. I personally still think John won that. I know I'm in the minority, but that's for, whatever. But Dominic Reyes was quicker than John Jones that night, and you could see it. You can see it. Even Thiago Santos, when he was as explosive as he was before his knee, he was giving John problems. It's not that John can't be beat. He is so smart. And Rampage talks about this a lot. He's Neo. He's from the Matrix, He's got the strongest mind I've ever fought. John Jones is special. And you're right. I do want to see him face the best challenges. I do want to see him take on the best fights. I'm so for Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. But if you're John Jones, does it not make sense for Tom and Alex to fight before you fight one of them? Like, Gordon Ryan said it. I mean, it's starting to make a lot more sense to me. That's how I'm viewing it. So, that's how I'm seeing that. Now, I'm not going to just milk the Tom Aspinall, John Jones, and Stipe talk the whole end of this stream here. Been live for an hour. Do want to get to my Celtics, my Patriots. Did take the L. Indianapolis Colts. GG. We almost got a 68-yarder, is what it is. Celtics down JB. JT, man, MVP, bro, MVP, dog. I've been such a Jason Tatum fan since he's come into the NBA. I'll not lie, I did not watch college. I did not know, but as soon as I saw him play in our summer league as number 11, I knew Jason Tatum was the guy. All right, huge Jason Tatum fan, love him. MVP of the season, MVP of the league, finals MVP, all of it. Okay. We lost to the Cavs. That's fine. You can get number 1 seed for right now. Right. We're down with Derek White and JB. Not really stressing about that. You can have the number 1 seed. We got the best player in the NBA. All right. Let's not forget. Jason Tatum runs the NBA. And the championship, the Larry O, comes through Boston. Okay? Don't forget that. Don't forget that. We go home with gold. Or hold on. I had to grab it. My bad. We go home with gold. The Celtics got the championship, okay? We got this in Boston. All right? So if any NBA team wants to get through and go win the championship, you got to get through us. We're the best team in the league, bar injury. Obviously, health matters. But just know the best team, best player, that all runs through Boston. Okay? Just understand. Now, the last thing I do want to mention is Drake May. Dude, Drake May is so special. He is, in my opinion, the next guy, the next person to battle Mahomes. All right? His next obstacle. Now, if we can get a good coaching staff, I think AVP Alex Van Pelt, I think the offense, I do like that. I don't think that we need to touch that. Gerard Mayo, I'm not saying we need to fire you. Not at all. I think we need to give it a little bit more time. I think that this down year is only going to help us in the future. We're going to have some experience under our young guys' belts. Drake May is going to grow. He's going to get more time in the Alex Van Pelt offense. He's going to have more time with his receivers. Hopefully, Polk can get out of his slump. But what I see online and what I see on the field of the great play by Drake May, holding call. Back-to-back holding call on a touchdown. Like that sort of stuff is disciplinary. We cannot have that sort of stuff happen if we're going to try to have a successful ball club. All right. Remember, as a Patriots fan, when Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, top of the line, were running through our fucking dynasty, the discipline, the little things the flags, the holding calls. These things weren't happening on a regular. That's championship football. That's what we need to get back to. Now, whether that's our players, whether that's our coaching staff, whether that's our offensive line staff, whatever the issue is, GM, whoever, whatever, needs to get fixed. Because the young talent that we have here in New England is a blessing. I'm very, very, very thankful. Because, I mean, some organizations aren't as blessed as the Packers to go from Bart Starr to Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love and have all these different championship quarterbacks. And, you know, we have Tom Brady. That's our history. And now I'm not downplaying that. It's the greatest of all time. And I do love me some Tom Brady. And I do appreciate you. But we need the next guy. And I think that we finally have him. I did like Mac Jones. I won't lie to you. I did. But obviously, you know, what's the saying? What's the saying? A Toyota looks like a Phantom till a Phantom pulls up, or whatever car it is looks like until it actually, you know what I mean? Like, whatever the saying is, that's what Mac Jones and Drake May. All right. We thought we had our next guy. Drake May showed up. That's actually our next dude. All right. He's the guy to take us to another championship, in my opinion. If we can get the right pieces around him, having this down year, having to get, top 5 in the draft again, I'm loving it. I'm okay with it. Even though I don't like losing, I'm not, we need to tank either, you know? No. I think that we have a real opportunity to have a trajectory of going to the playoffs next year. Drake May, the throws that I was able to see from this kid this season, and just under pressure, he's able to take a shot and stand in there and just make a play, which I love. I love that about him. And then the maturity in the post, like if you go back and you watch all of his post-game pressers, the maturity and the accountability is insane. It is very, very remarkable for being 23, how old is he? It's crazy. 22? The dude, look, telling you, Kansas City fans, you better watch out. Because the Patriots, next couple of years, might be back on top. Might be carrying one of these again. Might be getting the 7th in our franchise. With Drake May holding it. Is DC fat? Bro. Is DC fat? I'm colorblind. Is the sky blue? Is the grass green? Dog. Of course he is. What do you mean? What kind of question is that, Jimbo? I'm sorry, but I'm not a big DC fan. The man should be nicknamed Donuts and Cookies. All right. How you doing? I was actually just about to end. I was talking about my Patriots and my Celtics. We're live for about an hour and 10 minutes here. I'm going to be clipping up the stream, posting videos. Love your support. Trying to be live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then do weekend reactions and stuff. So I appreciate your support. But I'm about to end here. Just hoping that Drake May can bring us home one of these. Because, Jason Tatum brought me one. I'm big Boston sports fan. So I don't just talk about MMA, as you can see, but I do try to take things serious. Try to be for real, trying to make a good run at this. I think we got a good opportunity. Trying to build a good community, do my own thing. Love and appreciate y'all. subscribe, support. There will be some videos of the stream today. I'm going to go over some topics. PFL card. Got Jan and Figgy matchups at 135. UFC 310. Was Dana White about PFL and their failed experiment. And then how disgruntled and upset fighters over in Bellator are. Whitaker's comments about Hamzat and Sean Strickland getting a title shot. Ilia Topuria's comments on Conor McGregor. Actually, I did not cover. Let's talk about that. That's pretty sad. That's that in its own right and its own thing. Because look, I'm never gonna be a liar. I'm not like that. I don't like to lie. I try my best to be as honest as I can. Personally. I started watching when Conor McGregor was on his rise. Literally. I was playing basketball, full court, pickup. Dudes on the sideline showing me Conor knocking out so-and-so. Not Aldo, well before Aldo. I think it was Seaver or one in Ireland. Can't remember his fucking name. Ridge, whatever. Either way, I remember that. And even though I watched UFC before, not like this, not when I really cared about the sport and really got invested in wanting to watch it. You felt something. You felt something that you knew that this guy was different. Okay? You knew when Conor was coming up at that time. You felt it. Like as a fan, you were, oh, this is different. This is something completely, we've never seen this. Now, obviously, John Jones, Ronda at the time, fantastic champions, right? Jose. But when Conor was on his rise at that moment, the guy that Ilia Topuria is talking about that we've lost, you knew that this was a very big moment for the sport and his rise in general. It just felt different. And then he proved it every time. And proved it every time. With his win against Mendes. His win against Aldo. His win against Eddie. And then to go face Floyd. It, like the rise, you felt it. And it was just a different guy after that. And you felt that too as a fan, which sucks because at the end of the day, he could have literally been something very, very special. Whether he was able to actually, no, you lost it after Khabib beat him. You started to see he definitely brought more eyeballs to the sport because I knew about the sport and I watched it from afar, but I didn't care about it like I do now. That's for certain. So when you saw that and you felt that rise from Conor McGregor at that time, the guy that Ilia Topuria is talking about that we've lost. And he's right. We've lost that man because it's not the same guy. The guy that was on food stamps or welfare or whatever the case was, where Dee Devlin was working her ass off for him. Like he was, as an aspiring plumber, quit. Back like that guy is not remotely the fucking coked up courtroom crazy debacle that we got now. And that's what I think that people are very ultimately upset with, personally. Obviously, he did what he did or didn't do what he did. That's all subjective. Civil court case, ruled him whatever. Obviously, I care if you do that. That you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't sexually assault people. But I'm not necessarily going to put my 2 cents in on a verdict on a civil court case when they wouldn't even take it to a criminal trial. It's not a good look. It's not good to have on your record. It's not good to be tied up in all of that. But it's not for me to really judge you. I can just judge you on your fights and keep it there. But that guy that Ilia Topuria is talking about, that rise, that inspiring person, the lifestyle, the mindset, all of that is a completely different Conor McGregor than we have now. And it does pain me to say that we will never see that man again. It does. It does suck as a fan, but it is what it is. Glad we got through that. Glad we got through the stream. Appreciate y'all. Think that's about it. I covered all the other ones. John Jones, Cyril Gahn, Blahovic, Celtics, Patriots. I'll see y'all in a couple of days. I'll be doing some research, listening to some interviews, make sure I get this content out the next 2 days. So, love and appreciate y'all. Thank you, Jimbo. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Comic. And hope y'all enjoy the content. Talk to y'all later. Have a good one, dude.